So I recently died in my hardcore world. This has given me a lot of time to think, and I began to wonder, what is the greatest villager in all of Minecraft? After months of expert research, I have compiled this definitive list of every single villager from best to worst. After careful consideration, I have decided 3 categories that should measure a villager. The first is the house they live in. Now, the house is the true measure of a man and his worth. Therefore, villagers will be measured by their houses. The second is appearance, because I am extremely vain. And of course, the last category is their trades. That's all anybody really cares about. That's all I ever cared about until I made this list. Now, before we get started, there are 14 types of villagers I will be considering. I will not be considering the jobless villager because I don't allow losers on my videos. The 14 types are armorer, butcher, cartographer, cleric, farmer, fletcher, fisherman, leatherworker, librarian, mason, nitwit, shepherd, toolsmith, and weaponsmith. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, when I first began researching for this video, I was not aware that every villager had their own house. As you can see behind me, these are all the villagers' professions that have houses. There's quite a few of them. Some of them even have 2 houses, which greedy much, but that's okay. And getting right into it, number 14 is the farmer. For some reason, the farmer is the only villager that does not have a house. Why doesn't he? I don't know. Anyway, this is the closest thing I can get to a house for the farmer, and unfortunately, it just already doesn't look that good. And combined with the fact that it's not a house, this gets 3 out of 10. Anyway, going to the first actual house, we have the Fletcher. The Fletcher's house is pretty cute. You know, it's got the basic interior, it's got the torches. But my question is, why is there wool? I get that you can sell him string, but like, come on. He's not making wool. He's making bows. Still though, it does add nice character to a village, and I think it's pretty cute, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. In 12th place, we have the Shepherd. Now this is already an improvement on the Fletcher. It has better floors, it has 2 looms, which I think is very cool, and it has a back. You know, I can imagine some sheep in here. It's pretty nice. But this also begs the question, why does this guy have a house? Shepherds go out in fields. This is not a field. Please go outside, do your job. Still pretty cute though, so I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Moving on into the 11th spot, we have the Fisherman. Now you might be asking yourself, inedible, why does it have dirt underneath? I don't know. Everyone I generate spawns like this. Now obviously this is a bit of an issue, and I'm gonna demonstrate why real quick. Let me in! So past the rather difficult entrance, it's pretty nice. I'm not sure why he can fish indoors. It also has some water in the back, which I don't know. I think it's kind of neat. Past that, I do believe this is the most basic professional villager house, so I'll give it a 6.5. At number 10, we have the Cartographer. Now the flower boxes on this house are actually very nice. I do think they add a lot of character. And on the inside, you know, it's a cartographer's house. However, I do believe Mojang really dropped the ball, because this guy should have an observation tower so he can see far and wide to make his maps. And even despite this oversight, this house is pretty simple, so I'm going to give it a 6.6 out of 10. At number 9, we have the Toolsmith. From above, you can kind of see it's a bit of a backwards L, which I don't know, I'm all for oddly designed houses, but this one kind of drops the ball on the interior. As I'm sure you know, the Weaponsmith's house has the best loot in the game. My question is, why did we not put half of that loot in this house? Even with these oversights and lack of interior, I do think that this shape just adds a lot to a village, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. At number 8, we have the Leatherworker. Now before we get started, an interesting side note. In the game files, this is called the Tanner's house, but the actual villager is called a Leatherworker, which I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool. On the outside, we have 3 cauldrons, and on the inside, we have a chest and another cauldron. I think this shape is a slight improvement over the Toolsmiths, with this nice little outdoor area just being a great touch. However, occasionally villagers will wander over from other workstations and take these jobs instead of the ones they were supposed to get. So I'm going to give it a 7.2 out of 10. Halfway down the list, we have the Armorer. Now on the outside, this house is pretty simple. Flying up though, we can see it as a very nice chimney. And on the inside, it does not stop its simple yet elegant design. Big fan of the blast furnace chimney design, as well as this nice little countertop. This is honestly a really good villager house, so I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. In 6th place, we have the Mason. I mean, what else can I say? It's got this nice terracotta design, and the inside, it's pretty cute. Little small though, but that's okay. It doesn't need a lot of room. The terracotta works well with the wood, so I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. At number 5, and our first dual house is the Cleric. I will be referring to this one as the Protestant church, and this one as the Catholic church. Starting with the Protestant one, it's very nice on the exterior. However, this is not big enough for a congregation. It does have this very cool roof design though, so that gets it a point. Also, the stained glass windows are a great touch. Because of this, I'm going to give the Protestant cathedral a 7.5 out of 10. Over to the Catholic church, this is definitely the most iconic villager house design. However, I honestly think it's just kind of overrated and dated looking. I mean, it's all cobblestone. Additionally, why is there a ladder up here? Mojang should definitely update this design. It's getting a 7 out of 10. Averaging out these scores, we get a 7.25 out of 10. However, I am going to add half a point because of the uniqueness. I almost always see the Catholic Cathedral first whenever I find a village, and even despite me dogging on it, I still think it's pretty cool. So 7.75 out of 10. At number 4, we got the Weaponsmith. Oh yeah, you knew this was coming. The lava is fantastic. These furnaces are just mwah. And inside, you already know it, the best loot in the game. And even with all that, it's just a very cool design. It's got the cobblestone and the wood, which I think just blends well. So it's going to get an 8.5 out of 10. Starting off our podium strong, and with another dual house, we got the Butcher. The first Butcher's house, exteriorly, is pretty basic, but the interior is just the best. This counter and this smoker are wonderful for world building. I mean, hell, you can even eat some food while you wait for your food. And in the back, we got the animal pen, which, I don't know, I just think it's kind of funny. This one also gets an 8.5. It's just great. And the second Butcher's house, you actually have to take a step back for. That's right. It's got a second floor, as well as an animal pen in the back, which, I don't know, I just think it's great. This is honestly one of my favorite houses to steal for my starting purposes. And because of that, it's getting another 8.5. At number 2, we have... who else but the librarian? Now, the first library is just so elegant. You've got the dual doors, making for great entry, the lectern right here, and the books right there. And then you can go upstairs onto a balcony, which you can also jump off of. It's just great. It gets an 8.5 out of 10. In all my years of playing Minecraft, I have never seen one of these generate naturally. And let's just say there's a reason for that, because oh my god, this is insane. 2 lecterns, books back here, books back here. You can go upstairs to another balcony, which you can also jump off. I love it. Did I mention this thing is huge? Definitely be considered a town center in my world. That is, if I could find one of these things. This is going to get a 10 out of 10. Averaging the two, we get 9.25 out of 10. And in first place in the building category with a perfect 10 out of 10 is the Nitwit. Now, because the Nitwit obviously doesn't have a house, because he can't afford one, because he doesn't work, I decided to give him all of the houses that don't have a job in them. Unedible, I'm sure you're wondering. How many houses is that? Well, let me show you. This house, 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 this house with a balcony, this house, and this house. How many houses is that? I don't know, I can't be bothered to count. All of these houses are houses that you walk past every day in your village and you never notice them because they're so good. Mojang knocks it out of the park with almost every single one of these designs, and because of that, 10 out of 10. So those are all the houses. Let's move on to villager designs. Unfortunately, somebody must come in last place, and in this case, it is the farmer. I mean, his design's alright, you know, he's got the straw hat, that adds some character, but past that, I don't know. I just can't get into it. In 13th place, and to very few people's surprise, the toolsmith. And he's gone. I mean, like, it's okay, you know, it's not bad. It's just the brown gets lost, his arms cross over, and he doesn't have any gloves on. Like, this guy's hands must be just crushed from smithing tools all day. Overall, it gets the job done. It's just not that pretty. 12th place is not obvious. It's a personal preference. But I have the Fletcher. The Robin Hood hat is kind of funny for a minute, but I mean, he looks like he has a bowl cut. And I don't know. It just doesn't really work that well. At number 11, who else would it be? It's the Nitwit. I mean, yeah, it's a solid design. You know, he's got the green so you can tell him apart from other villagers that aren't stupid. It's a simple design for a simple villager. Simple as. At number 10, we have the leather worker. He's wearing gloves. He's wearing a cape. It all makes sense. He's all right. Moving on. At number 9, bit of a hot take, we have the cartographer. I mean, yeah, the monocle is a really cool design. I think it flows nicely with the character. It's just great. Why is his front so boring otherwise? Honestly, just a librarian wanted. Librarians have 2 glasses. Oh, he's gone. At number 8, we've got the butcher. Pretty dynamic design. You know, the headband's pretty cool. Why is his cape so clean? Sir, where are you going? Sir, get back here. Other than that, simple as. At number 7, we got the one, the only, the guy that just walked right behind me. The fisherman. His hat is just fantastic. Like, this is what the farmer's hat should have been. He's got the fish in his belt. I think that's cute. It works well. He looks cool. Enough said. Number 6 position, it's the mason. The black gloves work super well with this design. He's got a little mallet in his belt. Just solid, you know? Big fan. Number 5, Controversial take. I have the shepherd. The white wool just is phenomenal on the back. His hat isn't the cutest. It's a bit like the bull cut, but it works a lot better than the Fletcher's. And the front side, the white and the brown pop nicely. Love the green eyes. Just missing out on the top 4 position, we have the weaponsmith. I mean, the eye patch is just classic. It's great. Black gloves work well with the character. Only issue with this is the eye patch is a fun novelty when you only have one of them. But when you got like 40 all in a box, it kind of looks a little silly. Rounding out our top 3, starting with 3rd place, we've got the armorer. Those goggles are just the best. And the rest of the outfit works well as well. In the front, we've got the gloves. Not the black ones, which I do like, but the brown looks good too. Number 2, you know him, you love him. It's the cleric. That purple cape, fantastic. The creeper design on the back is like actually like incredible. And it gets better on the front. He's got the gold collar. He's got the gold belt, the gold chains, man stripped out. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of the design. And number 1, I'm sure you've guessed it. It's the best thing ever. It's the librarian. I mean, come on. The glasses. I love that his hat's a book as well. That's like actually so clever. As well as the white tunic, which flows really nicely with the design. I mean, seriously, I could look at it all day. So that was my list for all the villager textures. I'll put on screen now what I rated them out of 10. And before we continue, I just want to point out that this Jagged Peaks biome is insane. I summoned the biome randomly just for the bit, and oh my gosh, Mojang, you dirty dogs. Anyway, our last category for the day is villager trades, so we'll get into that right now. Unfortunately, in last place, we have to do the Nitwit because he doesn't trade. All my Nitwit enjoyers, all 7 of you, are very, very sad about this one. Moving on to actual villagers. The worst one that trades is the fisherman. The fisherman is such a pain to level up. 20 string for 1 emerald is actually like a scam. Like, this guy is scamming you. The best deal he does is 1 boat for 1 emerald. However, that runs out pretty quickly. It's a super big pain to craft a bunch of boats. Kind of a scam. Not a fan. In 12th place, we have the cleric. Now, as cool as this guy is, his trades just aren't that good. 32 rotten flesh for 1 emerald is pretty steep. I mean, he buys 9 glass bottles, but again, if you don't live in a desert, that's hard to get. And he sells things like redstone and he buys gold. So this guy's dealing in valuables. And honestly, he's just not worth it most of the time. And in 12th place, we've got the butcher. Now this guy's pretty cool, you know. It's just that he buys at such a high price. Like, the amount of meat you need to give this guy for 1 emerald is insane. Also, he doesn't really sell anything good as well, because if you're selling him meat, you can afford to cook it. His highest level is buying kelp blocks and buying sweet berries. Why? You are a butcher. You are not a farmer. You do not need any of that. Get out of my sight. Number 10, the leather worker. This guy, he buys leather. I mean, he also sells leather goods like leather helmets and stuff. Why would you ever need to wear any of that? The armor smith has way better armor at a lower price. So this guy's scamming you. He does make and sell saddles at a pretty good price, and those are hard to come by in bulk, so he gets a pass. 9th place, the cartographer. He's very similar to the leather worker. He sells maps. Maps are useful. He doesn't really do anything else though. His base level trade is 24 paper, which paper is honestly harder to come by than most people realize, because sugarcane takes a while to grow. He's kind of meh. Again though, the maps are pretty invaluable, so he is slightly above the leather worker. In 8th place, the mason. Now that's not to say the mason is bad at all, because he's not. He's actually pretty good. He offers balanced trades, you know, he does a good job with that. And I mean, who's gonna buy the billion stacks of granite I mine anyway? But yeah, he's just balanced. He's just a chill guy, you know, he's fine. In 7th place, the weaponsmith. Again, it's not like he's bad, he just sells one thing, and he does it pretty well. And that, of course, is swords and axes. I guess that's 2 things. Weapons just don't break too often, so you buy a couple and then you don't talk to him for a couple months. In 6th place, I may have overrated him a little bit, the shepherd. Okay, hear me out. The wool trade is really, really, really good. I mean, buying wool, which is really easily farmable, at a pretty good price, I mean, you just can't beat that. However, his max level trade is to sell you a painting, which is not good. This one's kind of hard to rank. At number 5, you just walked on my screen, we got the farmer. Another just solid villager all around. I mean, he buys melons and pumpkins from you, and he'll sell you pretty much anything you can eat. His highest level golden carrot trade is used by me a lot. And if you think I placed him too low, well, how valuable is food? At number 4, just missing out on the top spot, the Fletcher. 32 sticks for 1 emerald is probably the most common trade. used to get emeralds. That's 4 logs for an emerald. You get a good axe, you're making bank. He's also got the bow and crossbow trade, and if you get him to a high enough level, he'll trade you a tipped arrow, which if you get harming 2, that's pretty good. In the 3rd place spot, it's the armorer. This guy starts off by selling you iron armor. That's pretty good. At his highest level, he will sell you a full set of enchanted diamond armor. What else could you possibly need? The number 2 position, silver place, it's the toolsmith. Now I'm sure you're wondering why I put toolsmith over armorsmith. And that's simple. I go through a lot of pickaxes, and this guy will sell them to me. This guy is selling you a full set of diamond tools. You just can't beat it. Except for our number 1 trade, you know him, you certainly love him, the librarian. The fact that this guy will give you any enchanted book, that's game breaking. I mean, seriously, this is probably one of the most game breaking intended mechanics just ever. And because of that, you just can't beat this guy. He's too good. So as you can see on the screen now, I've done some quick math. And our winner is the librarian. Yay! But what does this mean? Well, villagers are such an interesting mechanic. One of them, pretty useless. I mean, you can get some stuff. 20 of them, pretty game breaking. And are they perfectly balanced? No. Will they ever be? No. And that's okay. Minecraft is a game that's meant to be enjoyed however you want to play it. If you want to get all your resources through blood, sweat, and miserable tears, that's great. And if you want a little help, that's great too. Go ahead and leave me a comment telling me what I got wrong. I'm sure I got so much things wrong. I'll respond to as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye!